This was a really interesting profile of Camilla, ahead of the coronation in the Sunday Times. And what fascinated me was generally royal friends don't speak on the record. You know, you'll often get sources say or whatever. In this case, one of her best friends, it's the Marchioness of Lansdowne. She's a neighbour of Camilla's for decades in Wiltshire. One of her great friends. She chose to speak on the record. And what she was saying was how upset Camilla was by Harry's book, by the things that were said. I don't know if Camilla actually read the book or if she was just told what Harry had said, but it had left her very sad and disappointed, and I'm not surprised because, again, like William, she was the sort of villain of the piece.
Yeah.
And I think it's a big thing. The decision to, she's obviously let her friend speak on the record, suggests that she quite wanted it to be known that she wasn't happy about it. We were discussing sort of increasing number of claims that Prince William should use the opportunity of the coronation weekend to have sit-down talks with Harry, you know, extend olive branches, have a heart-to-heart, this sort of stuff. And then this is sprung on him that apparently all the reports are that Harry didn't have the courtesy to tell William that he was going to be making this big revelation in court, where it will be reported everywhere. Didn't discuss it with his father either on the eve of the coronation. And it's, yeah, it is well, I would say a shock, but we're kind of used to this sort of behaviour now. My first reaction to this story was how magnanimous of Charles to write to her. I mean, you know, anyone who saw that Netflix documentary might remember the moment where Harry allegedly received a text message from his brother, and he was so shocked that you saw Meghan sort of going over to comfort him and talk outside, you know, and that was William's reaction to this appalling interview and all the dreadful allegations which Harry and Meghan made. We know the Queen's reaction. She left it a few days, let things calm down, and then talked about, you know, recollections may vary. But it looks like Charles did what he often does, sit down and write a letter composing his thoughts. And from what we understand from this Telegraph report, it was sort of thrown back in his face that Meghan wasn't satisfied with his response. Well, in my opinion, you know, she was lucky to get a response from him at all. When Queen Elizabeth became Queen, we didn't know what her views were on anything, and we still didn't, even at the time of her death. And that was very helpful in a way, because it meant that people across Britain, you know, whatever their political views, in a way they could always feel like the Queen was on their side. But it's much more of a challenge for King Charles, because we know his views on so many different things, whether it's from farming or the environment or architecture. So, you know, every time there's an issue, we will know where he stands. But I think, you know, he's mature enough to sort of go beyond that and say, OK, but I'm not going to cause controversy here. But there's still likely to be tensions, I would have thought. They do seem to have accepted quite a few awards recently.
The multi-award-winning Duke and Duchess.
It's interesting. I mean, awards generally are not something which, you know, the royal family accept, but now they're free from the royal family's constraints. They can accept as many awards as they like. And this was an award for Meghan's advocacy, I think, for girls. It's from the Miss Foundation. And she used the opportunity, this grand stage, which obviously has become even more of a story with all the attention about the chase and everything outside. It's become a much bigger story. And this was all about service, her speech. And it's been a real sort of eye-opener, because, you know, service is something which we very much attach to the royal family. We associate with the royal family, and that was emphasised in the coronation with King Charles, as he entered Westminster Abbey, saying, you know, I come to serve and not be served. Yeah. And then that was highlighted in Prince William during his speech at the coronation concert, where he referred to that. You know, service, and it was something Queen Elizabeth always emphasised. The royal family is about service. And I think Harry and Meghan, that's always sort of rankled with them, in the sense that they think you don't need to be in the royal family to serve. And when they quit royal duties, they made that point. They came out with a soundbite about service is universal. Yeah. And Meghan's returned to that theme of, you know, we're here to serve. But for me, I don't know, it just made me feel slightly sick, frankly, because, you know, so the service, their idea of service seems to be about service to themselves, service about making money. You know, they left the royal family to make money. They wanted to be free to do so. And yes, they have charitable interests, but they mix them up with their personal interests, and they always, you know, they're making money as well as serving. And
is that a crime?
It's definitely not a crime, and it's something that anyone can do, but it makes me uncomfortable. The whole sort of subject makes me uncomfortable, frankly.